Hello! Now then, the magnificent Budgie have a box set of their three classic albums from the early 1970s, due for release on September 26th, 2026, which is about 10 weeks or so from today, 7th of July. It comprises of Never Turn Your Back on a Friend, In for the Kill, and Bandelier, together with a few bonus tracks thrown in as well. Now then, cliches such as criminally underrated and should have been bigger are applied to many bands, aren't they? Those cliches are sprinkled about quite liberally. But in my opinion, if they apply to one band, then surely it's got to be Budgie. Fronted by Burke Shelley, the Welsh equivalent of Geddy Lee, if you like, that quite diminutive style, precise, slightly funky bass lines. They also had the riffmeister guitarist in Tony Borg. Man, what a player. He was as heavy as anyone, crunching riffs and solo runs to match anyone you'd care to mention. After two massively heavy albums in their debut album and Squawk, Budgie then really hit their stride in 1973 with Never Turn Your Back on a Friend. A huge album of power and poise, with those occasional short, quirky, gentle acoustic pieces that they'd often throw in as well. This album gets underway with Bread Fan. Man, what a riff. What a riff. And a song which, it pretty much set the template, didn't it, for speed metal, which came along later. Once you've listened to Bread Fan, you don't forget it. And then we had the weird song titles as well, where they were always a feature of Budgie, weren't they? You're the Biggest Thing Since Powdered Milk, Thunderous, and then we've got the powerfully fuzzy riff of In the Grip of a Tire Fitter's Hand with a groove to match, and the sweeping, sprawling prog metal of Parents as it veers this way and that. Just tremendous, tremendous. In for the Kill followed in the next year. Another huge slab of churning, pounding heaviness. We've got the likes of the title track, Zoom Club, and the quite glorious Crash Course in Brain Surgery, although that's sadly missing from this box set due to some licensing issues. I don't know what that's all about. Then this classic trio of albums is completed with Bandelier from 1975. We've got the storming Breaking All the House Rules, kind of catchy, I Can See My Feelings, and the quite phenomenal Napoleon Bonaparte 1 and 2. Part 1 being all sort of nice and gentle and quiet and pastoral. And then part 2 comes along, bang, a powerful, powerful assault and battery on your ears as you'll get anywhere. Marvellous, marvellous stuff. Alas, though, despite having albums as good as these, and subsequently, Budgie never really hit the big leagues, did they? They were sort of tier 2, tier 1, I don't know, but they never hit the elite league, but continued to release excellent albums all the way through to Deliver Us From Evil in 1982, although we had the surprise return of You're All Living in Cuckoo Land in 2006. Unfortunately, though, whilst on tour in Poland in, I think it was 2010, Burke Shelley suffered an aneurysm, which he never really recovered from, and that meant the end for Budgie anyway, and sadly Burke died in 2022. But one heck of a musical legacy, not least as demonstrated by these three albums here in this box set. An essential and influential band, with some of their songs covered by some very, very big names indeed over the years. For example, probably most notably, Metallica covering Bread Fan and Crash Course in Brain Surgery on their Garage Inc. album. But this box set's essential stuff, it really is. If you're familiar with Budgie, then you'll already know that, if you've been with them for decades as I have. But if not, check out a band that had a lot other than the success that came along with it. And, was so influential in heavy metal and everything else, really. Marvellous, marvellous band. If you would like to check this one out, as always, link in the description. Please do subscribe to the channel before you disappear, because that's always a big help and appreciated. And until next time, as always, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and take care.